Welcome, everybody. Thank you all for being here once again. This is a 24-hour Bible study club where we do the Coach Lesson SUJATA Against All Odds live podcast. And we are here today to share with you. We look at some commonplace ideas and things from her book that has a lot of life lessons in it. And as those life lessons show up, we chose to put together a podcast where we could share with people, bring people up on stage in Clubhouse, have conversations with people, and absolutely love to get connected to some of the real possibilities of what her book and how her book can make a difference in everyday life for the everyday person. We will be sharing the link to the book. I'll make sure that gets put into the Clubhouse pin so you can click on it and take a look at that. Other than that, we are here today. And Sujata, I'm going to hand the mic over to you.
Thank you for opening the room, and thank you to the people in the room who have taken out time to come to this room to talk with us. And Coach Les, today I think the topic, if I am not mistaken, was on hiring.
Oh, yes. And what it looked like to hire.
I made sure that I would remember and put it down.
So one of the things that we wanted to talk about was what are some of the ways in today's marketplace that we can be responsible for how to hire people. You know, we live in an age now where people have just come off of getting a lot of money from the government. And with that money from the government, they have been able to kick back and relax. And as wages have gone up and up and up and up and up, I wouldn't say necessarily that performance has gone up and up and up to coincide with it. I will say that it has been super difficult to find good quality help. I mean, even McDonald's, Starbucks in a Target here in Minnesota was paying $20 an hour to make coffee in a Target store. That's $40,000 a year if you work full time there. That's a pretty good living. So one of the things that we want to make sure of is, are the people that you're hiring a good fit? What are the ways that we can make them a good fit? And to me, that's the bread and butter of this conversation, along with making sure that people are finding the jobs they want and not just necessarily going to work for a paycheck unless they're sure. Because there are some people, look, I just want to work for a good paycheck, do a good job, and then go home and live my life. I'm going to commit 8 hours to earning a paycheck. I'm going to work to the best of my ability and to the best of my integrity. And then I'm going to go home, and that's when my life begins. And that's okay as well. That is one beautiful way to live life. And then there are the entrepreneur people. So there's really 3 types of people. So to make sure that when you're hiring, what type of person are you hiring? And there are many ways to do that, and we'll talk about some of them today. Back to you, Sujata.
Yes, I think what I'd like to chime in is that, when we do the hiring process, we often overlook the fact that we don't match the right skill sets. For example, we don't go beyond the resume. A resume may not really say what the person's, skill sets or their traits or their uh, areas of expertise are beyond what is written there. They may not even have an interest in what is written there. There's so many people who graduate, in a certain particular field and stream, and they never take up a job which has got anything to do with what they studied in college or got the degree for. So there are a whole lot of people out there, and the hiring person should always try to see beyond the resume and try to match, the profile with the job. Then you would have a person who's passionate about the work and would obviously give their optimum output. What do you say?
Well, let's put it to Wade and see what Wade has to say. Wade, are you there? How about Michael?
How about now?
There we go. Now I can hear you.
I have to get my microphone in exactly the right spot. It's time to buy a new headset. I am out and about through the entire last 2 years. I've been out on the road constantly, right in the thick of it, watching every different kind of industry, with employees leaving, coming back, changing, and one of the worst things going on right now that you highlighted was especially in the service industry, is the people that don't want to go back to work. So, and some of them have found entrepreneurial things that they think will work out, borrowing money from family, have some money left over from the handouts and things like that, or they simply go to work for 1 week or 2 weeks, get just enough money. They've learned how to survive on a lot less money over the last couple of years. They've learned what they can do without. So now they can work for 3 weeks at a job. And I can't remember the name for this, but there's a name. They've named this whatever this culture is. But they work for 2 or 3 weeks, get just enough money to take off for the next 3 months. What a fascinating life to be able to do that. But how sustainable is that for our culture worldwide? How sustainable can we be when you get accustomed to ordering your breakfast from a certain person, and every 3 weeks it's a new person? That's difficult. We have to find a way of reintroducing pride in the workplace, pride in work, pride in your craft. And I think that we're in an especially good place to do that right now. I think coming out of this COVID pandemic arena and all this stuff has given a rise to the desire to succeed rather than just be a worker. And I think that is a big part of why people don't want to just succumb to the workplace, the 9 to 5 and the minimum wage. They are demanding more. And in a way, I think that's a very good thing for all of us.
I think that's awesome. I think that is, one of the questions I have to ask you, though, what do you see about how to entice or reward employees for staying with a company long term today?
Well, let's go back to the, if I can use the word, olden days, because my dad always says that. Well, back in the olden days,
Michael, we're becoming our dads, just so you know.
You're like, Dad, I always like to ask him, how long ago was that? Because when I heard it on a Western, it was like, that was like the olden days were black and white. They didn't even have color back then. I'm not talking about the TV. When I was a kid, I thought that color was invented in the 1960s. Like, that's how the world. Okay, my mind was weird when I was a kid. But so back in the olden days, there was a thing, and if you talk to anybody that's in the 80s and 90s, area right now that remember this, you could work at one company for 30 years. 30 years was just a normal thing. And they would work all those years just to get a decent retirement and a really nice watch. I mean, they knew that the last 3 people that retired got these really awesome watches, right? That was a thing. There's no way. You couldn't even offer somebody an Apple Watch today to get them to stay at most places. There's a difference between the intrinsic motivation and the extrinsic motivation, right? We have to identify it. My short answer is I don't know the answer to your question. The longer answer will take me all day, but we have to identify the intrinsic motivational things that we can spark in a person. Light them on fire, build their dreams, find out what they want 30 years from now, 20 years from now, 10 years from now, play the movie backwards all the way to today, and give them the circumstance, not the money, not the gold watch, not even an Apple Watch. Give them the circumstances, give them the conditions, give them the promise and the hopes of having that lifestyle that they define, that they want their movie as it plays out in life.
It is a very interesting time, and you hit the nail on the head. The whole I'm thinking about my watch sitting downstairs, Michael. You know, I have a watch that I got from my old company for being sales rep of the year. And I look at that and go, wow, I thought it was pretty cool. Today, that kind of stuff just doesn't seem to cut it. It doesn't seem to have an interest level. It doesn't seem to be exciting enough. I think, and I might get some kickback for this, and that's okay, because I'd like to hear it. I believe that parents have spoiled this generation. They have spent more on toys and materialistic possessions and gadgets and getting their kids cars. I mean, I look at high school parking lots today, and they're not just full. They are overflowing with cars. I mean, when I think back, and yes, I'm a little bit older. I think back to 1981, 80 to 81, our parking lot had tons of space in it. Tons of space. People still rode the bus. High schoolers still rode the bus. And today, parking lots, that same parking lot is, it is triple the size that it was. So all in all, for me, I think we've spoiled this generation, spoiled them beyond belief. You know, I remember having a conversation with a couple of workmates and parents, and talking about how even you couldn't wait to get married and then earn enough money to buy your first car together, which might not be a new one, but it was newer than the one that you had. And now the parents buy their kids new cars. And, reality hits when they move out and go live with a girl and get married, and they look and they've, I can't afford a $40,000 car. So with that, I'm going to pass the mic to Sujata and have her then check in with Paitlin and Clayton.
Hi, Caitlin. What's your share on the topic?
Being this generation being spoiled.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Because I've seen so many children even in today's world. For example, they do a computer science as their graduation because their parents want them to do it, not because they want to do it. And there is a lot of discord and friction which finally happens before the student reveals that they would like to become an actress or a model. Totally unthinkable for the parent who are trying to steer them in the direction they think that they will have money and they will have a good way of life. But how do you take care of your passion areas and your creativity? So I think that's what I say, that unless we focus on putting the right fit at the right place, there's bound to be a lot of such issues. And yes, parents do spoil their children even today. They give them things in many countries and cultures, they're given, and they don't know what is to work hard, to struggle, and to grow your character through strife. So yes, I agree. So with that, I'd like to hear what Clayton has to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Because it all starts from the home, and as and we as parents need to have those hard talks and to inculcate in them a strong sense of ethics, work ethics or relationship ethics, where they have to honor the time, honor the journey, honor the lessons that are learned. You will make mistakes, and you will it will not be easy going forward, but that's how you build up your character, that's how you build up your workplace profile. So it's not that you enter the job and you straight away become a supervisor or something like that. You have to work hard for it, and you have to learn on the job. You have to manage people. There's so many aspects to it. So it's not a quick fix solution that you just get in, have a good pay packet and go home. You have to work hard for that pay packet. And is that what you really want to do? That's why we see a lot of people who have a burnout at a um, young age, and because they're not always able to cope with the what should I say, the nitty gritties of what your profession has laid out for you. And if they have not got the right fix, like if you wanted to do something else but you never told your parents and you just went with the flow, sometime it will catch up, and it will erupt where you will either rebel, or you will just give up, or you will have all kinds of other issues. Does that make sense? Would like to hear your views.
So I one fellow. Oh, sorry about that. Older than me, and uh, working with him on a small business, he got a little flustered, and it was his mother's business. And he said to his mother, my sister, "You've given me everything I've ever asked for." Um, and he continued, "If you would have allowed me to earn it, I would have been better off." And I was a little baffled because at first I thought he was giving a compliment, but he was actually, he was very upset. And he was saying that if you, as my parent, and not going to go into details, would have had me to earn what I have, my car, my phone, all of this, I would have been a better person. And at that moment, I was perplexed. I was just like, I would have never said that to my mother, but nevertheless, I listened to the words that was coming out of his mouth. This is the issue that we're currently facing: is that uh, our youth are they're not earning anything anymore. Um, it's really easy nowadays to get a job. I mean, the sign-on bonuses are extremely high. So there's no completing your resume, updating, making sure it's nice and neat, a cover letter. They're just getting into a lot of jobs and they have nothing to show, no ambition towards earning anything. So it's very important that overall we look at just the culture that's being created around the world right now, especially in the United States. Um, I think companies also need to dial back a bit. And it's a really complicated one because I know my HR struggle with hiring anyone right now. So we even changed the process of hiring to no drug screening. So a lot of these youths are coming through the system and avoiding drug tests. So I'm really curious to this topic because this topic is a really deep one. Uh, I believe we do start with a culture change. I'm kind of stuck on the culture because that's currently what I'm seeing in today.
Brilliant. Thank you. Go ahead, Michael. Jump in.
Clayton, I had a question, and I've seen these numbers in other places, but you know your numbers. Roughly, how many new people per month or per week do you bring in, and what's your attrition? It's evidently got to be significant because you keep training new.
Wow. Whew. So as of now, I would say that let's just stay on a small scale. Within the past month, we've probably taken on over close to about 20 new hires. The percentage of ones that actually showed up past orientation is, out of that 20, would be probably about 10, so half. It's not too bad, but it does affect us because we are spending money to take on new hires.
That's significant, and I want to deep dive with a lot of other people into this because I believe there's an ocean of people that are just going from one place to another, working for 1 or 2 weeks and getting a little bit, and effectively just skipping around, and there's a new an avenue for them to do this that we may not have been aware of, where this person is going just bouncing around town and working at different places for 1, 2, 3 weeks at a time and then leaving. Thank you. I appreciate you sharing that, because I really want to find unique ways of that challenge. But Les, I wanted to go back to something you said about the cars. I just had this conversation with my boys. So I'm guilty. I'm the guy that did it. You can convict me. Here's the irony. My grandmother passed away. We inherited her orange Toyota, not Corolla, Camry. It's a red-orange car, Toyota, whatever. In 1984, I, at the age of 14 years old, paid cash for a 3-year-old red-orange Toyota Tercel Corolla.
Nice.
I bought it. I mowed the lawns. I went fishing every Friday night and Saturday mornings. I took the fish up to the market and sold it at Rollo's and Cisco's. I took half the money, put it in my bank, and I blew the rest of it in gasoline in my go-kart and motorcycles, and that's my life. Arcade games all the way, 25 cents pop, right? But I could afford to do it because I'm
Uh-oh, Michael, you went into the
everything on my own. But I did do everything I possibly could do. My kids, we have already we inherited a car. We've already designated that that's the car for the boys. So they're, and my oldest son is 15 and Joshua's 13. So they're going to be driving. Steven's already driving, with us in the car. And so next year, we've already designated that car for them. No work, no effort, no energy of any kind. We just, in this day and age, I guess, feel obligated that, like you said, everybody else gave their kid a car. We've got to give our kid a car. I'm like, well, hold on a minute. How dangerous is this? The work ethic is utterly missing. How do we reinstill a work ethic into somebody and encourage them to go for something bigger? How do we do that?
Well, that's a very tough question, Michael, and I think that work ethic is. Well, I think that's before I answer that, I want to get one more person who's up on stage here. I want to get Cassandra's read on this question before we jump into some of the answers and some of the strategies that I think if that's okay with you, Mike. Michael, is that okay? Michael, are you still there? Oh, no worries. I was just going to say, I just want to go to Cassandra before I answer that question, and let's just finish this round of opening, and then we'll jump into that some of the ideas. Okay, Cassandra.
Very well.
Are you there, Cassandra? Good evening. Good evening. You're a little quiet, Cassandra. Are you able to make it a little bit louder? Yes, there we go. Yep, I can hear you.
I jumped on late. So the discussion is about the youth.
So the question has come up about job, employment, and Sujata. I heard her creating something a little different, so I want her to jump in and finish off my statement. So, and we were just talking about employment and kids and their employment and what it is today that the children of today have been handed a lot of things. So their work ethic is not as good or as it used to be, and it's difficult. And we're about to go. Michael had just asked the question about, what are some of the ways to instill some of this? And before I jumped into that answer, I wanted to hear your take on the situation of youth in today's economy and job environment, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And yes, you're gonna have to speak a little bit louder because you're a little bit quiet.
Oh Lord. Hold on. Let me. Are you hearing me now?
Oh, beautiful.
Much better.
I don't know what you did, but remember what you did, because you just went from a 2 to an 8.
I unplugged my earphone.
Oh yeah, earphones, and unless you have Apple iPods, earphones are not happening with Clubhouse.
I see. Okay, thank you for telling me. So I realized I was listening to Clayton.
All right, and for those of you listening online, we are going to be closing down the broadcast today, and we'll be back again on Monday and Tuesday, and we'll actually be back on Friday, this coming Friday at 9:30. So look forward to seeing you tomorrow at 9:30 on the Coach Les and Sujata video podcast. And with that, I am going to close it down.